Fortnite Chapter 5 is here, and there is a lot to unpack. We're gonna go over all kinds of stuff with this new season, give you some tips on like best loadouts and stuff like that. Timestamps are down below if you want to skip around, and real quick before we get into it, I'll be updating all my creative maps down below with the new guns and adding new locations as soon as all that stuff is in creative. That'll be a great place to practice, but for now, you really should just be exploring the map. Which brings me into my first topic. Let's talk about everything new here. Obviously, it's a brand new map starting from scratch, just like every chapter. I can't go over all the new locations because there's so many, but let's talk about some of the secrets in the map. First off, there's still caches, still forecast towers, and still the island. There's no more slurps, which is really clutch, but all those different things spawn at the same points as before, so the second zone opens, that's when forecast towers spawn. Third zone is caches, and fourth zone is the island. But regarding the new locations, there are 5 different bosses. And if you kill these bosses, they drop a mythic gun and a medallion. And these medallions are like the craziest thing in the game right now. This is how it works. You collect these medallions, and each medallion you have means you're gonna be just constantly regenerating shield all throughout the game. And the more you have, the faster your shield regens. So these medallions are really, really good to have, and you get a mythic from those bosses, so those are going to be some broken spots. The only thing with medallions is if you have them, you actually are shown on the map to everybody else in the lobby. And if you have more medallions, it's going to show a more accurate representation of where you're at on the map. So there is that negative to it, but it heals you so fast that it doesn't even matter. It'll be so good for W key games and a tourney. One little tip to fighting the bosses, you'll notice that the bosses emote at random points and they regen their shield. At first when that happened, I was like, what the heck? But no need to worry, it only happens once and then you can full kill the boss after that. But be prepared because they do regen. Along with a brand new map, we also have a brand new loot pool. To start it off, we have a new ballistic shield which comes with a pistol that you can use to charge at people while also shooting at them. For the shotguns, we have a hammer pump shotgun and a frenzy auto shotgun. It's pretty similar to what we've had in the past. You know, the pump is really good for taking peek shots and piece control, while the auto shotgun is good for charging into boxes. For the ARs, we have a Nemesis AR and a Striker AR. The Nemesis shoots more slow and steady, and it's pretty accurate, but the Striker AR shoots so dang fast, and honestly, I think it's the better option. Now for the SMGs, this is where it gets really broken. The Thunder Burst SMG is just okay. But the Hyper SMG is so crazy. It shoots so fast and literally shreds people through walls. If you're looking for the broken item of the season, I personally think it's the Hyper SMG. But then there's the Reaper Sniper Rifle. I'm fairly certain this isn't going to be in competitive, and thank God, because this thing has some really good accuracy for a sniper, and it one-shots you to the head, so that thing is pretty crazy. Lastly, there's also a Ranger pistol, and that thing's just okay. Regarding movement items, there's a new thing called a grapple blade. This will most likely be the new mainstream competitive item, but to be honest, it's not as broken as items we've had in the past. All it does is latch on to certain structures and then it sends you flying, but not that far. I will say it's definitely worth carrying because you can grapple and then pull out your shotgun and shoot after grappling, so it could be really good for doing hype plays. And it'll be really good in the moving zones for rotating. One of the more interesting updates this season is heals. Now you can actually slightly move while healing. You can't move fast, but you can walk around and jump and stuff. Additionally, big pots and medkits now heal you gradually over time. It was rumored that you wouldn't be able to cancel the medkit when you start. You can cancel, but then it's going to get rid of your medkit and you won't be able to heal with it anymore. Lastly, there's a new Flowberry item which gives you 10 shield and also fall damage immunity for like 5-10 seconds. Oh, last thing I should probably mention is there are shockwaves in the game, but most likely it's not going to be in competitive. That's why I didn't include it. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, what is the meta loadout? This is my personal preference: hammer pump shotgun, hyper SMG, grapple blade, and then 2 sets of heals. Or dropping the grapple blade and carrying 3 sets of heals. I will say if you get the medallions, you don't need as many heals in your inventory, but that's what I think the meta is. If shockwaves do end up being in competitive, then I definitely recommend carrying shockwaves over the grapple. Another huge new feature in Chapter 5 is the fact that you can now customize your weapons with attachments. You can add different scopes, extend your magazine, reduce the recoil of your guns, and more. I haven't had a chance to fully explore the customization benches, but the guns you pick up off the ground usually already have modifications to them. So that's a pretty cool new feature. The next thing we need to talk about: The new mechanics. What is going on here? If you somehow haven't heard or noticed in the gameplay, running is very different now. If you don't sprint, it's basically like you're moving like a snail. And it's a very clunky feeling, especially in build fights, because you can't really build up fast unless you're sprinting. Personally, I don't mind this too much in fights, but I really do mind it while moving around the map because I feel like I'm moving around so slow. Especially in tourneys, since there won't be any cars, it's going to be so hard to get around the map. But in build fights, if you're struggling, try to get used to sprinting while building. If you can get in the habit of pressing your sprint button more often throughout a build fight, you'll be able to move twice as fast as your opponents. But at the end of the day, this movement mechanic is really annoying. It is like the one thing in this season that I don't like. Hopefully they do something about it to make it feel less clunky. One other mechanic that they added is this like climbing up walls feature. There's little planks on the sides of players' builds now, and you can climb up it, kind of propel yourself upwards. I'm not sure how useful this will be, but I'm sure people like Martaz and Raider will find crazy ways to use it. Now, it's time to talk about the most exciting thing of the new season. Well, it's the most exciting thing if you love competitive Fortnite. For the first time in I don't know how long, the prize pool has gone up. And honestly, it's a pretty significant amount. Last season, the most you could make in a Duo Cash Cup finals is $500 each. But now first place makes $1,600 each. Second place makes $1,200, third place makes $1,000, and everybody that makes the finals actually makes money. It's nothing too crazy, but it's a huge step in the right direction. But with that being said, yes, Duos is going to be the main competitive game mode again, if you haven't heard. There is going to be an FNCS, the details aren't out yet, other than the fact that it's Duos. More details are going to come on that in January, but in the meantime, tournaments actually do start in just a few days. Starting on December 8th, solo victory cups are going to be running, and it's actually pretty crazy. They're going to be running really often, especially for the next 2 weeks. You'll have to look at the full schedule in game because it's kind of all over the place, but they're happening like sometimes on Fridays, Sundays, Tuesdays. I actually don't know what days, but I know for sure they're always going to be on Fridays and Sundays and sometimes during the week as well. One big change with the solo victory cups is now top 9,000 instead of top 7,000 qual to the finals on NA Central, and on EU it's like top 11,500. So a lot more players are going to get a chance at getting their first earnings, which is really awesome. On top of that, there's also Duo Zero Build Cups, there's Mix It Up Monday Cups for no prize money, there's going to be Rank Cups just like the other season, and there's going to be Console Cash Cups. Instead of having a one-time Console Champion Cup, they're having several of these Console Cash Cups instead. So the tournament schedule is very busy, but there is going to be a big break. Tourneys stop on December 22nd and resume again in mid-January. But for the next like 20 days, it is going to be a busy tournament schedule. Which leads me into the last topic of this video. I'm going to give you guys some tips to prepare for upcoming tourneys. Like, what should you guys actually be doing in this early season if you want to get some earnings early on? Here's my advice. First off, explore the map like crazy. Try to find one spot that you just especially like and think you can do well in tourneys. I don't know if you guys ever felt this, but there will be certain spots I drop at and I'm like, I actually really like that spot. I feel confident there. I'm going to land there in a tourney. Try to find a spot that gives you that feeling and then stick with it. There's really no spot you need to land to get earnings. All that matters is you pick a spot and master it super, super well. But to counter that a little bit, you do need to explore the map a lot. Yes, pick a spot you like a lot, but also explore so that you know how the map works, where's north, east, south, west, learning the landforms, all that stuff, you know? If you just land one spot, you might only know that side of the map, which is a good thing to know that spot well, but yeah. Spread out. Second piece of advice is practice in creative a ton when the new guns come out. They're not in creative yet, but when they do, I'm going to update all the maps down in the description. Make sure you're practicing 1v1s, getting fighting down, because while you could practice in an actual game, practicing it in creative will help you get used to this new movement meta even faster. Third tip is stay tuned on Twitter and tutorial channels like the one you're on right now. There's going to be a ton of new strategies coming out, ways to exploit with the new guns. And so if you stay on top of that, you'll probably know some insider access that maybe other people you're competing against won't know. And the final tip is after the first tourney happens, make sure you watch back pro gameplay. They'll probably end up posting it on YouTube. Just watch those videos and don't watch it with your head turned off, you know? Pay attention, try to look for things that they're doing that maybe you're not doing. doing. And with all those tips, hopefully you can do well in competitive. I'll have lots more content on the way, so stay tuned and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.